thanks for tuning in. I'm excited to kick this thing off. As you know, I really love having these long form discussions, getting to know people, and that's why it's called Beyond the Briefing, right? It's what do you want to know about somebody that you don't know straight up. I called it this, and I said it in the introduction when we first put this out, that too many people that I met after I left the White House said, I only knew you from your briefings. I never thought that you were X, and fill in the blank sometimes. And I thought, there's so many people that I've gotten to meet that there's so much more to them than what meets the eye, what you read on their Wikipedia page or something, that their path to success or fame or whatever, there's so much more to them. And I really wanted to start having some of these conversations, and I'm so excited to kick today's off. I got to know John Rich a few years back. You know him from the band Big and Rich, but you may have also been to his bar down in Nashville. You may have bought one of his Redneck Riviera products, either whiskey or there's so much more to it now. But anyway, I loved getting to know John Rich, and I wanted to share a little bit of what I have gotten to know of John Rich with you all. And so I'm so excited to have this conversation today. Obviously, we get into his songwriting career. He's got a brand new song called Progress that's out right now, hit number one on the charts already, right out of the gate. But we talk about, it's interesting. You know John Rich now. You see him on TV. You download his songs, but man, he's had some big setbacks. We talk about that. What kept him motivated? What kept him driven to success? And then he actually had a bunch of breakthroughs, and he didn't stop. And it was sort of, I talked to him about that as well, and it was fascinating. One of the best stories that John ever told me was when he launched the Redneck Riviera brand. How he got it trademarked. And I asked him to tell that story today. It is so awesome. And it really explains so many of the problems that exist in Washington, but also shows you what happens if you have perseverance and imagination and entrepreneurship. And John Rich embodies all of that. We talk about a lot of the ways that he gives back. I mean, it's such a great conversation. I'm excited to share this with you. And then we also obviously get into his politics. John has, his new song Progress that I just mentioned touches on a lot of the issues right now. And I ask him about what it's like being in this industry and talking politics, especially politics on the right. And he makes it very clear why he does it and what motivates him to bring subjects like this up. And anyway, so I'm excited to do this. And by the way, we do a little lightning round at the end, and you're going to find out what John Rich's pet peeve is, right? Well, that's a hint. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with John Rich as much as I did. Here we go. John Rich, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. You have a brand new song out called Progress. I want to get to that in a minute because I sort of, as I was getting ready to do this, I kind of was looking at your life. I know it's kind of weird to say. And I started to think about like the buckets that I wanted to talk about. And I was like, okay, so you're this big music superstar. You've made it huge in business. You've done a lot in TV. And then you got really into politics. And I was like, you know what? Progress is sort of, I start to put it in the politics bucket. And I'll tell you why when we get to that. I want to start, if we can, first things first. As I was looking at the career of John Rich, you start this music career, if as far as I can tell, at a theme park singing. Is that right?
Yeah. So in my senior year of high school, we had actually moved back to Tennessee. My mother's originally from Tennessee, from Texas, and I started realizing all these musicians are around out here, and people actually make money singing, which is not something I could fathom from Amarillo, Texas. If you can't ride a quarter horse and move some cows around or drive a combine, you're not going to have a good job.
Right.
But I got out there in my senior year in high school. I auditioned for this place called Opryland, which I wish we still had Opryland in Nashville. But they had all these live music shows, and got the call that, hey, John, we want you to work at Opryland this summer. So the summer after my senior year of high school, I went to work at Opryland. That was my first ever real paycheck singing.
So it's interesting because I don't know the music business, right? But you seem to catch a break, or I don't know what the word is, and you hook up with this band Lone Star. You guys part ways. After that, they kind of hit it big. You pursue a solo career. As I've read, the label drops you. They don't bother even calling you or your manager. So at this point, I mean, obviously you don't know, you mean, the John Rich of then doesn't know the John Rich of today. What motivates John Rich then to say, you know what, I'm going to keep going?
Well, we've got this thing in our country called the right to pursue happiness, not the right to be happy. There's nothing that says Americans have the right to be happy or be successful or be anything other than they have the right to go after those things. I was raised in such a way that, hey, John, it ain't always going to work out for you, but you're an American, son. You never know. If you think big enough and work hard enough, you might make something out of yourself someday. That's the way I was taught.
Was that a parents thing or a grandparents thing? Like,
yeah, that was my dad, my grandfather, my granny Rich, all of them. And you're talking World War II generation, and then their son, which is my dad, and then me. So I'm around all these people that busted their knuckles their whole life trying to go make something for themselves. And failure is part of the equation. Now, failure sucks. And the way that you absorb failure, process failure, and go forward is generally where you're going to find winners and losers at that point. And so while it sucked to lose, and the music industry is all about rejection. I mean, I've written over 2,000 songs. I've had about 200 recorded. So 1 out of 10. That means 9 out of my 10, somebody says, yeah, that sucks. That's not good. So record deals, being in bands, having solo deals, it failed, on and on and on. I've definitely failed more than I've succeeded, but people don't remember the failures. They remember the successes, as you well know. So I just kept pounding forward, because here's the thing. Ultimately, I knew down in my soul what my fire was, what my passion was, what my God-given talent was. And that's the route I'm going to chase, whether it's working at the moment or not. It's going to work someday. Someday. Keep chipping, keep going, keep at it. And that's what made me happy. That was me pursuing happiness. In the pursuit of happiness, a lot of times you're not necessarily happy.
Right.
Most of the time you're not, but you're happy for the fact that you have the right to go for it. And I tell people all the time, every human being on this planet, created by God in his image, all they really want is the right to exhaust their potential. But because of where they live, what governments are around them, they're not allowed to be everything they can be. But Americans can. And that's why there's lines coming in, Sean, and no lines going out. And there never will be lines going out, because the whole world just wants a chance to exhaust their potential. We're born with it in this country as an inalienable right. So I was raised being taught exactly that. And that's what continues to push me forward every day.
Wow. So I guess, and again, I don't mean to short circuit the story, but I mean, at some point you and Big Kenny kind of bump into each other to start to write songs. You start this thing called Music Mafia Nights. And I guess I apologize, but the Cliff Note version, as I understand it, is you guys start going to bars and say, hey, we want to bring acts in and kind of do something fun. And some guy says, hey, look, Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock are horrible for us. We'll give you that night. This thing takes off. I mean, you've got amazing acts that come in. People are excited. Gretchen Wilson, Kid Rock comes in, Martina McBride. And I'm starting to think to myself, this is sort of, I look back at the John Rich of today and I go, this is where, if I'm looking back and maybe I'm reading too much into it, it's a combination of like John Rich, the businessman, the artist, you identify talent, you're a promoter. It's, tell me how important that phase of your life is. Those little things, I look back as I read and I go, you know what, that to me is the combination of everything that you have succeeded in now, the promotion, the entrepreneurship, the innovation, the grit. I mean, the number of stars who came through, you have a talent for all of this. Tell me that period of your life, how big is that?
So that was in a period of my life where I had been turned down and let go of by these record labels and publishing companies. Big Kenny, kind of in the same boat. He's making this kind of crazy rock and roll kind of music. There was this whole underground community of artists in Nashville that nobody could get a spotlight to shine on them. And it was not just country. We had rappers showing up in Nashville. We had, obviously bluegrass guys, rock guys, heavy metal bands, spoken word artists, you name it, all kinds of people, blues, a lot of R&B guys, all kinds of people that were extremely talented, but because they didn't fit in any given lane that the music industry was currently promoting, they couldn't get a record deal. They couldn't get noticed. And we were all in that same boat. So we decided, you know what? Let's just find a little place to get together every Tuesday night, and we'll just all get together and everybody play their songs together in the same room, which was unheard of. And so we started that, and we called it the Music Mafia. Mafia standing for Musically Artistic Friends and Alliance. We felt like a family. We were sticking together. Gretchen Wilson was a bartender at that particular minute. She was working doubles downtown. I had guys parking cars, other people selling shoes. I mean, all different kinds of stuff. But the music was incredible. And the vibe and the energy we got off of each other was incredible. And it turned out to be a real renaissance moment in Nashville. Prior to Music Mafia, there was a real common phrase in Nashville. If they heard something they didn't necessarily know what it was, they'd go, well, that ain't country. Well, that ain't country. That was their favorite line. And my line back to them was, yeah, you know who else they said that about? Johnny Cash. When Johnny Cash came to Nashville, that ain't country. He's sitting there singing about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, got his hair slicked back. He's playing rockabilly. He cut his records in Memphis where Elvis recorded. He's not country. And so we said, yeah, but the industry is ultimately going to follow the lead of the artist. They have to. They can only play what we give them to play. So that was our attitude, and we went forward. And yes, I was able to identify really talented people that had nothing going on in the business, but I knew their star was bright and that their talent was unmatched, is in my opinion. So I started promoting them and telling them about people and letting them have microphones and stages and putting spotlights on them. And what happened, Sean, is when one person would have some success in the Music Mafia, they would invite everybody else in the Music Mafia to come be in their music video or join them on stage or be on a TV show with them. And one by one, we all helped each other climb that ladder.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that because I remember in 2004, you guys hit it big, right? Everybody, I think they think of Big and Rich. They go, save a horse, ride a cowboy. I remember that video hits the screen and it's Gretchen Wilson, Cowboy Troy. I mean, like everybody's in it. Now, I didn't know at the time the backstory that I know now. So it was sort of like you're watching these people and thinking, wow, what a cast of characters. The funny thing is, I mean, like, to this day, I think, you know, there's some songs that are generational that you'll have to explain to your kids or whatever. I think Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy is transgenerational. Like people will still go, oh, I know that song. I know that song. And everybody knows the words to it. It's got just a fun, exciting thing. And wherever you are, it brings a smile to your face. People get excited to hear it. The video's the same way. It makes you happy and it makes you laugh.
It's like
but the funny,
like a quasi-clean, dirty joke is what.
Right. But so that's what I'm getting at. I'm starting to you know, get ready for this. And we go back, we do a little research. And the head of CMA says at the time that they were flooded with letters protesting you guys for having you on the Country Music Awards. And the LA Times called the song the most polarizing act in country music since the Dixie Chicks spoke out against President Bush. Now, I will tell people who don't get that reference, go back and Google the Dixie Chicks. It was they performed, I think they were in England. They made some comments about President Bush and some actions he took. They got into a back and forth with Toby Keith. But anyway, I don't remember any of this. I remember Save a Horse, everybody being like, just literally putting a smile on your face when you heard it on the radio. Everybody sung along. And I'm reading this going, so do you remember the song in that context? Was that something that you guys were thinking, wow, we're getting a lot of blowback because obviously you were the artist, but I don't remember any of that reaction.
Yeah, I can dig back one page before that. The record label said, Warner Brothers Records said, that is the stupidest song we've ever heard in our lives, and nobody's going to take you seriously if you put that song out. We go, well, it doesn't have to be a single. Can we at least just put it on the record? They said, we think that's a terrible idea. They're not going to take you seriously. And we go, yeah, but we love playing it. And every time we play it at a Music Mafia, people lose their minds. Please let us stick it on the record. We're begging to have the song even on the record at all. They said, fine, we'll bury it in the track. So they put it at like track 7 or track 8 out of 11 and buried it. And we're not going to come out with it as a single. So we came out with a different song called Wild West Show as our first single. And then the album, the whole record came out. And the fans started buying Big and Rich records, and they were hearing Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy, track number 7, and calling the local country stations and saying, hey, can you play track 7 from Big and Rich tonight on their call-in request shows? So the DJs are like, sure, we'll play it. They play it. The phones explode. Next thing you know, Warner Brothers is calling us going, well, looks like Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy is going to be the next single because the fans are demanding it. And again, to my point about Music Mafia, the industry doesn't know a damn thing about what's going on. The creators of the music are the ones that drive the tempo and drive the direction of music. The guys down in the big buildings, all they do is market. And once something gets hot, they'll just ride that horse to death. It's up to artists and songwriters to take it new directions. And yes, the industry as a whole, not everybody, the CMAs let us on because they thought we were onto something big. But the old liners in country music hated everything about it. We got the worst reviews. Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy, Sean, never went top 10 on the radio chart due to lack of research. They said people hated it.
Well, again, the funny thing is, I guarantee you, if you walk down the street, literally probably in any city, and said, can you sing me a stanza from that song? You can go, oh, absolutely. And yet there's probably any other number one song that was on the chart for the people would be like, I can't remember that song. But the funny thing is, we talked about the struggles early on in the career. You hit that song, and I'm thinking, now you ride. You literally ride that cowboy, that horse, and go, okay. But you go on to chart 19 singles, right? You guys are now flying high, and then you keep writing. Mississippi Girl for Faith Hill, Redneck Woman for Gretchen Wilson, Why by Jason Aldean. You even co-wrote a song with Taylor Swift. You're starring in reality show, producing records. I guess the thing is, so you've now made it big in the industry. What does the future look like you from there? Because I want to get into your business career, but I'm thinking to myself, if I made it this far at this point, I'm going, I'm king, I'm good. I've now not just my band, my songs, I've gotten enough career wise, but you don't stop there. But I think a normal person would say, hey, I'm counting my blessings. I'm good. That's where, like on those game shows, you go, I'm stopping him, Alex, and playing on. Right. But you don't. Why?
Because there's nothing more frustrating to me than having an idea and not being able to chase it. To have a great idea, a great thought, a great notion about something that I think I'm capable of doing, or that might be a great thing to do, and then not going after that just because I've had some success and just because I ought to just sit back and roll. And I go, yeah, but I might take this new idea on and it might fail. And I just had these successes. And why do I want to put a black mark on my success rate? Right? That's what we would say. But it's more frustrating to me to sit back and go, yeah, I'm not going to take the risk because, hey, I've done pretty well. And I'll just put that idea off in the back of my mind. I don't think so. That's not how Americans roll. I mean, can you imagine if our country had that attitude back in the day? I mean, what would we have not invented? What would we have not done by this point?
Well, okay, so that's a perfect segue, because I want to get into where inventing and going there next. One of the best stories that I've ever been told is the story that you told me about trademarking Redneck Riviera. Can you just, I mean, like, I literally have tried to retell it, and I feel like I will never do it justice, because it's one of my favorite stories about David versus Goliath. In this case, John Rich versus the Patent Office. It was just, to me, such a, can you just give a quick glimpse into how you came up with this idea and then how you succeeded in creating the brand Redneck Riviera?
Yeah. So I was down in Gulf Shores, Alabama, which is one of the most beautiful beaches in the country. We had a Big and Rich concert going to happen that night. So that afternoon I was hanging out with a friend out by the wharf, having a cigar, and just chilling out with my buddy. And everywhere I look, I see this phrase Redneck Riviera popping up. And I think that's funny. I've always called it the Redneck Riviera too, because you can't afford to go to the French Riviera. So where do you go? You go to the Redneck Riviera. You go to the blue collar beach that you can afford to drive to and have a great time. By the way, I would rather be there than the French Riviera any given day. So I'm down there seeing the phrase all over the place. I called my attorney and I said, hey, would you find out who owns the trademark to Redneck Riviera? He goes, sure, I'll call you right back. So he calls back and he goes, you're not going to believe it, John. It's never been trademarked. And the phrase has been around since the early 60s, as far as I can find. And I said, it's never been trademarked in any capacity? He goes, it's never been trademarked. Why? I said, I want to try to trademark it. He goes, okay, what do you want to sell? I said, ball caps and T-shirts. He goes, okay. he said, that's category 17. I said, well, what do I do to trademark something? I know how to publish a song, but how do you trademark something? He goes, well, you're going to need to build a logo, and you're going to need to put it on those ball caps and t-shirts. Then you have to sell them across state lines and turn in the receipts to the U.S. government, and then they will determine whether they'll give you the trademark or not. I said, okay. So I went to work, and I've spent 3 or 4 months building this thing out, this red, white, and blue star. It had waves going through it. It said blue water, white sand, rednecks. That was the line under the star. And I sold ball caps and t-shirts on johnrich.com. I turned in those receipts. My attorney calls and he goes, well, now I know why it's never been trademarked. They say you can't trademark a geographical location. So there you go. I said, well, no, not there you go. And he goes, well, that's the answer. I said, what's the wrong damn answer? He goes, well, what do you want me to say? I said, is this an attorney in D.C. telling you where the Redneck Riviera is? He goes, yeah. I said, okay, ask him 3 words. Where is it? Where is it? Because last time I checked, nobody pays taxes to the Redneck Riviera. You can't mail a letter there, and nobody's address is the Redneck Riviera. So I want to know where this attorney thinks it is. So another month or 2 goes by. We get the answer back. And Sean, this attorney, I have it framed downstairs in my office, the email. He copies and pastes the Wikipedia answer to where is the Redneck Riviera. Would you like me to quote it? Because I have it memorized.
I do.
Redneck Riviera is a colloquial term used to describe the beachfront between Destin, Florida and Gulf Shores, Alabama, otherwise known as the Emerald Coast. That was his answer. And I said, I got you, sucker, because you forgot South Padre Island, Texas, and you forgot about Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and on and on. Dude, I went on to Facebook and started searching that phrase and compiling places from all over the U.S. And the one that I think finally broke them, this lady's got her feet propped up. The sun's going down in the ocean. She's drinking a Corona. Another beautiful sunset here in the Redneck Riviera. And then you look at where she is when she posted that. Delaware. Delaware, Sean. So, because we know all the rednecks hang out in Delaware. Yeah. So I got all that together, sent it into the U.S. government, to the trademark office, and I said, it is not a geographical location. It is a state of mind. It's the same place Margaritaville is. It's everywhere and nowhere. It's just a different group of people. And when they saw that, he went stamp. That was 2009 that I got the first trademark on Redneck Riviera in apparel, ball caps and t-shirts. And since then, we now have a state-of-the-art honky-tonk downtown in Nashville called Redneck Riviera. Redneck Riviera whiskey is now in over 13,000 stores across the United States. It's in every blue chip grocery store you can name. 10% of it going to Folds of Honor. It's now generated over $1 million back to the Folds of Honor in 3.5 years, and so on and so forth. So the point is, listen, I have a high school diploma. I grew up in a double wide trailer in Texas, and that is my pedigree. That's it. But I got the American dream in my back pocket, just like everybody else does. I tell you, that's all you really need in this country.
Well, like I said, it's one of my favorite stories because it just shows the bureaucracy in DC, but also the perseverance of someone like you who says, I challenge it and I'm willing to fight it. And I love that for it. I do want to mention this, that you mentioned, you've got the apparel, the whiskey. And again, I don't want to, we don't have enough time to go to, but the success you've had with getting that whiskey into the amount of stores you had, the story about you getting the blend right is so phenomenal. I wish we had time to get into it. But I do want to mention, you mentioned the bar that you've got in Nashville, and I do want to give a shout out. You've been so great with your success to give back to those who serve. And it's a testament to who you are as an individual. You have a Heroes Bar there. I just real quickly, just tell us a little bit about that, because I think that's and I'm a little pissed that I didn't know about that the last time I was there, because I feel like I had to pay for a drink that I shouldn't have had to pay. But I wanted to shout out, because you really give back in so many ways, and don't do it. You do it in very subtle ways. But the Heroes Bar at the Redneck Riviera is something that I want you to just explain what it is and why you do it.
So if you walk into Redneck Riviera downtown in Nashville and you're active duty, or you're a veteran, or you're a first responder, you come in and walk up, and if the bar is totally packed, which it always is, and you fall into one of those categories, our patrons will get up and leave the bar, leave the best seat in the house, and allow our vets and active duty to sit down. And then first drink is on the house. And last time I checked, we're somewhere around 5,000 drinks that we've comped down there. So that tells you how many heroes have walked into our bar. But the reason we make such a big deal for them and treat them like royalty is the only reason that place exists is because we have the right to pursue happiness. That the guy who owns it, me, with the high school diploma and the double wide trailer in my background, the only reason guys like me get to accomplish things like that is because I live in a free country and I'm allowed to go after it. And we only have freedom because of why? The men and women that have been willing to stand in that gap since the beginning of our country. So we treat them like royalty because they are royalty. I will say that on that whiskey, the 13,000 plus stores, I've got every store listed on my store locator on redneckriviera.com. If you're trying to find it, it's pretty much everywhere. But I always urge people to go check it out. I kept the price low. It's around $20 or so. It's not really expensive, but my glass is made in America. Nobody uses American glass. Nobody. It is crazy expensive. American glass, American corks, American labels. And then we give that 10% of the profits back to Folds of Honor. So to me, it's part of how I want to be known. I think the things that you do in your life, Sean, most of the time should hinge on how do I want to be known?
Yeah.
How do I want my reputation to be? Not how much money can I make or can I go cut a deal in a back room and make more money? No. How do I want to be known? How do I want my kids to think about me? How do I want them to look back on dad? And what example am I setting? And as a business owner, same thing. Other business owners look at me and they go, wow, look what he's doing over there. Yeah, he could make a lot more money if he just mark a couple of lines through a couple of those cost of goods, but he's not doing it. He's holding the line just like he said. I want to be known as that guy.
Well, and I think, as I said, so far, you've got that box checked. One of the other ways you've started to really get known is your political activism. That brings me back to Progress, this new song that's out from you. The thing that's so interesting is there are some artists that have become politically active. 99% of them, probably 99.5, are on the left. There are very few on the right. You have been politically active on the right, but you've got this new song, Progress, that's out. Let me just read everybody a line from in here. It says, when you invite the whole world to come live in our land and leave our country, men to die in Afghanistan, they say, let go of Jesus and they let Gov save. You can have your freedoms back if you do what we say. Shut down our pipelines and they shut down our voices. They shut down our main streets. This song is political. Like, this is, when I watch the video for Progress, when I listen to Progress, you're very clear. I mean, you talk about build back better. I mean, this isn't like, subtle hints. This is, I'm going to put it in your face. So why?
That's correct. And it's not political, it's American. Americans are finding unity right now in the pain that is being perpetrated upon them. And it bears out in the polls. When you see Biden down at 30% approval, that means 70% of Americans agree on something. Man, that's impossible. Yet it's happening. And so the pain that we're all enduring together is actually causing a bonding moment across party lines and across cultural lines, because everybody has to buy gas and everybody has to buy food. And if you have kids, you don't want them being targeted by the left or the right. And everybody saw how Afghanistan was handled and saw those 13 die for no reason. And everybody saw Biden check his watch as those planes were getting off in Dover, and so on and so forth. And so that the extreme and intense irony that all these things are being perpetrated upon us under the banner of progress. They are the furthest thing from progress. They are regressive. They're not constructive, they're destructive. We're watching our country be systematically dismantled right in front of us. And so the irony of that was so strong to me. I said, I'm going to write a song, because if that's your version of progress, you can stick it where the sun don't shine.
That was like one of my favorite lines.
Progress where the sun don't shine. Keep your big mess away from me and mine. If you leave us alone, well, we'd all be just fine. So stick your progress where the sun don't shine. It's kind of like flipping them the bird with a grin on your face. That's kind of
How does that go over? How does that go over? I mean, I know you're at a point where you can care less because of your success, but how does that go over with the Nashville crowd, the industry? I know you've said before what you think, but I mean, when you submit this and say, hey, here's my latest song, Progress, they go, oh God.
They absolutely hate it, which is the point, because they know I'm right. And the other thing, it's like my Granny Rich always said. She said, John, if everybody likes what you have to say, You're not saying it right. That's exactly right, Granny. Thank you for reminding me of that. She was a great lady. Listen, people's hatred towards a lyric like that or towards me in general is validation to me that I am hitting the mark correctly. I'm not here to make everybody happy. We got way too many Republicans out there that try to make everybody happy, and we call them rhinos, and they're not helping our country. They're hurting our country. So for me, listen, I'm a regular guy. I've just done some irregular things in my life with my career, but I'm still just a regular guy in my mind, in my heart. I'm just a straight ahead, hardworking American guy. And I think if I feel like that, probably lots of people feel like that. And they're almost apoplectic right now, Sean, because there's so many terrible things happening simultaneously that you can't even get it all out of your mouth at the same time. You sound like Mel Tillis. Go look him up, stuttering over your words. You just can't but get it out, right? It's too much. And so to me, maybe this simple little country song could really distill it down to the lines we all care about and the things we all feel. And you just hit the play button and you go, yes, that's what I feel like. I'm hoping this song becomes a battle cry for everybody leading into these elections.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if you listen to it, you'll get it. I would also encourage everyone to go to Rumble, to John's site, and watch the video, because I think it's almost like you can see it and absorb it two different ways. I listened to it once and I heard the lyrics and I kind of went, wow. And then I went and watched it, and the way that you portray it in the video kind of really puts it in context in a different way. And I thought that was, it really hits home. And it's interesting because I think you're the only artist that I know that does this on the right.
Yeah, that's because the industry is all on the left. And there's a lot of country artists that feel just like I feel, but man, they can't say anything, because if they did, that's it. They're done. I'm in an interesting position that I've been around a long time. I saved my allowance money, and I don't have any debt, and they can't hold anything over on me. And I'm happy with the songs I've recorded. I like my music. I like playing those concerts. We're playing a ton of concerts this year. Big and rich places are packed everywhere we go. It's not about that anymore for me. Now it's about what's going on with my country. Can I deliver something to the people that think like I do musically that lets them latch on to something they feel good when they hear that. They go, thank you. That's exactly how I feel. And they play it 10 times in a row. That's what progress is. And again, I'm laying out an example for my two sons who are 10 and 12. I want them to someday go, yeah, Dad never bent the knee to that. Dad lost the entire music industry. He lost all of country radio for the most part, wouldn't play his music anymore. And he kept coming and he kept swinging. Listen, your freedom of speech and your liberty is a lot more important than the approval of a liberal music industry. I can promise you that.
Well, I think you've given your kids a lot to be very proud of. John Rich, you've been very generous with your time. Before you go, one thing I want to do is a quick rapid fire with you. You got a second?
You bet.
Okay, here we go. When you travel, are you the kind of guy who arrives early or just in time?
Early.
How low can you let the battery on your phone go?
50%.
Oh, good. I like that. I knew I liked you. If you have 48 hours to binge any series, what's it going to be?
The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead. Right now, if you look down, how many unread emails do you have?
Oh, a couple hundred.
Oh, wow. I have a couple 100,000. Is there what individual that you have never played with, living or dead, would you love to play with, either a set with or just sing a song with?
Sting.
Okay. What is John Rich's biggest pet peeve?
People who use the word right when they're talking. It's sunny out today, right? And Joe Biden's a terrible president, right? You know how many times people say that?
I do. I know. Okay. Two more. What is one thing that John Rich will never go cheap on?
Boots.
Oh, well, luckily you make them. All right.
It's worth the money. Wear them for 10 years.
This is the last thing I have for you. And it's sort of a trick question, because I know you were on Celebrity Apprentice. You won it. But if you had to go on another reality television show, what would it be? And here's the thing that's interesting is I did Dance with the Stars, as you know. You were very supportive of it. But you and Big Kenny, you actually performed twice on that show.
Yeah.
But is there another one that you would go on?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm an amateur cook. I like to cook.
Okay.
So I would probably stick myself in that position on one of those cooking shows on the Food Network. I love Guy Fieri. He's a good buddy. If there was a reality show for guys like me that involved cooking, I would probably take that one on.
All right, this is the last part. Ready? Data or data?
Data.
Gala or gala?
Gala.
Okay. Iran or Iran?
Iran.
Okay, I see. I'm okay. Caramel or caramel?
Caramel.
Okay. Aunt or aunt?
Aunt.
All right, that's it. John Rich, thank you so much for your time.
Still, or did I fail? How did I do?
No, this is just get to know you. That's why this isn't a test. It's just, I think it's fascinating to like, I'm with you on the phone battery. If you go below 50%, I start to get, my hands freak out. So anyway, the new song is Progress. Like I said, if download it, both the song to listen to it, but then go to Rumble, check out the video. It's so powerful. Thanks for everything you're doing. Thanks for all the ways that you give back, and really appreciate all the time that you've given us today.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you for serving our country as well, sir. And we owe you a drink at the Redneck Riviera next time you're in Nashville.
I'll take you up on that deal. Well, I hope you love that. I literally finished that thing up and had like 18 other things that I wanted to talk to John about. I mean, you only get so much time with these folks. He's out promoting and promoting this new song, and it shows, right? It's right there, number one. But there's so much more to get to. I was so fascinated. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Thank you for subscribing. I hope you rate the podcast. And tell others and share it. Also, it's available on my YouTube page at Sean Spicer. If you are a YouTuber or you like to watch or listen to things on YouTube, go there, subscribe there, check it out. But thank you for listening, for rating, subscribing, sharing, loving, caring. Anyway, see you next week.